witches, welcome back to Writing on Jorvik, and today I wanted to do something a little bit different. Today I wanted to talk about how you're not falling out of love with Star Stable. To start real quick too, I am having some tech issues with my recording. It ended up bugging out and I could only get a couple minutes of recording and I don't know how to fix it, so at the moment it's just going to loop a little bit. And if it doesn't, then that's great. That means I explained this quickly. Anyway, let's get started. So I wanted to talk about something that I see a lot in the community, and that's this opinion that if you start feeling like Star Stable isn't the best game ever, that you're falling out of love with it. And that's not a great mentality to have, and I want to talk about why. First of all, how this topic came up is recently I ran a poll where I asked why people didn't recommend Star Stable, and while the biggest reason was money, big surprise, and that's a whole other topic we can dive into later, one of the other biggest reasons was embarrassment, and I just want to say that you shouldn't. As an older player who makes Star Stable content, who makes more mature general audience to adult Star Stable content, just because you are an adult individual or a older individual who likes a kids game doesn't make you weird or dumb or strange. I'm 23, I've been playing Star Stable since I was 16. I love this game, and I think there are problems with it, but I still love this game, and I'm not embarrassed, no matter how old I'm going to be, that I'm playing this game. It makes me happy, and that's what matters, and it doesn't hurt anyone that I like it. And as another example, my mom is just turned 50, and she loves Pokemon Go, and for the longest time, for the first years that she was playing it, she was super embarrassed about it, but it makes her happy, and she has made loads of friends. She has like a collection of plushies from her new friends' kids of the Pokemon she's helped them catch, and she like goes out for walks and she's just happy. It makes her happy and it doesn't hurt anyone. It doesn't matter if a game was made for kids and it makes you happy. That's all that matters. Like, as long as you're not hurting anyone, it doesn't matter who the game was for. If it makes you happy, then that's what matters. And that's just something I wish more people in the Star Stable community would spread, instead of making people feel bad that they're an older individual playing a kid's game. Like, Harry Potter is a kid's series, The Hobbit is a kid's book, The Legend of Zelda and Pokemon are kids' games, but like those are beloved by people of all ages. So like, just because something is made for kids doesn't mean it's just for kids, and that goes for no matter how old you are, and it never changes no matter how old you get. As long as you're being kind and respectful to other people and what you're doing isn't hurting others, like, it doesn't matter how old you are. Love what you love, and yeah, just be happy with what you do. But the other thing is that a lot of people will say then, well, I like this game, but I feel like I'm falling out of love with it. And it's something that I see a lot of the community doing, particularly when people have criticisms of the game, where people will just say like, oh, well, you're growing out of the game. You're just not the target audience for the game. And I think that's really destructive. It's not that you can't fall out of love with a game. That's absolutely something that can happen. You can fall out of love with a game. I fall out of love with games and then come back and fall in love with them again. It's totally a valid experience to feel. But just because you feel critical about something doesn't necessarily mean that that you're falling out of love with it, that you don't like it anymore. What likely is the case, and something that seems to happen a lot, is that Star Stable is a lot of people's very first video game. And that's great. It's awesome that Star Stable is creating opportunities to bring more people into the gaming sphere. That's amazing and awesome of them. What it also means is that a lot of those people have no frame of reference. And not just about video games, but about media in general. Because when you're a kid, you haven't really experienced a lot of media. You don't really know what you like. You just know this is bright and colorful and fun, and you have no reference of what could be better. But then as you start to grow up, as you start to engage with more media, not just video games, movies, books, TV shows, any and all of it, you start to look at media and say, hey, I like this type of storytelling. Hey, I like this type of gameplay. And then you come back to Star Stable and you can still like the core of it, but you may end up looking at it and being like, hey, I think this would be better if it was more like this other game I played. Hey, I really like this thing in this other game. And a lot of people will come back to Star Stable and start feeling really dissatisfied with the game, not because what it is bad, but because you've played other things that have done certain parts of it better. And that's not super uncommon, but the point is that just because something is for kids and doesn't mean that you're growing out of it. You just have a better frame of reference of how games are made. I still love Star Stable to death, but a lot of people think that when I critique it, I think it's a bad game. And that's not the case. It's just that I have played a lot of games. I have a lot of frame of reference with other games being developed, with other games being made. And so it's less so that I think Star Stable is bad, so much as I think that it can be better. And there's been a lot of shakeup in the people developing Star Stable, to the point that I think there was definitely around the point of time that Star Stable's PR team was deleting criticism, that the devs thought that it was a great idea to just market and do like a really easy kids game, and that didn't really help as a long-term solution to making the game sustainable. And a lot of those people have been driven out of the community now, because now when people are critical, they'll say, well, you just hate Star Stable and you should stop playing if you have any complaints. And that being pushed by the devs for several years of Star Stable being out, those people have left because they don't feel welcome in the community. And it's great now, like I've been able to speak to some of the devs on some of my criticisms and like actually engage in conversations with them, to have them to degrees disagree or agree with me on debates on like developing Star Stable out. That was actually one of the biggest compliments I got from a dev, was that I was one of the only individuals doing something like that for the Star Stable community, which means a lot to me because I want the game to be better. But I also hate the fact that I'm the only one doing this, because the more we collectively know about games and the more we contribute to discussing games to Star Stable, the more the devs can actually zero in and target the parts of the game that feel bad. Because it's not that Star Stable's core is bad, it's just that there are things that need to be tweaked and fixed to make it better. Things like adding a couple extra seconds to the Sunfield hints to make it a little bit less tedious. Things like changing the percentage chance of catching a fish for the fishing minigame to make it feel less obnoxious when you fail it. Things like redoing how experience is given to make quests feel more rewarding. There are ways to fix the game, but because most of the players who finally have the language to express how they feel are being scared off from the community because they feel like they're too old for the game, we're not actually getting to the problem. We're not telling Star Stable what we have wrong, we feel could do better about the game, and it's just this echo chamber of praise, which as a creator feels great, but it's not productive to making it better. There needs to be some type of critique going on, sometimes of useful critique about what's going on in order to improve it, instead of just saying, I feel frustrated at the game, I'm going to stop playing, because that doesn't help Star Stable make the game better. And so I think just the end point of it is that just because you have criticisms about Star Stable doesn't mean you're not in love with the game anymore. It just means you have a better frame of reference of how media is made, and that's great. That's amazing. And it means that you can use that to start more clearly explaining why you feel frustrated about something that Star Stable does poorly, per se. And it's not because you don't like the game, and maybe you don't like the game anymore, and that's totally valid. But just because you have a wider frame of reference doesn't make the original thing bad. It just means that there is something that we need to communicate better. We need to find that language so that collectively, as fans, we can tell the devs, this is the kind of game, this is what will make the game better for us, this is what will keep us engaged. And so the devs can look at our feedback and not just be like, well, how do we solve the problem of all these people being confused or conflicted or not feeling like the game is engaging? And that is something that comes with age. That's not necessarily something that like younger people can't do. It's just that the more media you consume, the better you can communicate that kind of information. And driving people out because they are critical of the game is not helpful. And driving people out because they're quote unquote too old for the game is not helpful. And driving people out because they just want to see the game improve is not helpful. And so I just want to see the community as a whole start to build each other up more, start to support that kind of communication so that overall Star Stable can get better and be a bigger and better game than it has been, and continue to be a big and better game. Because I love this game. I want to see it to continue to thrive, but if all we do is just throw our praise at it, then those people who feel like that things could be better aren't going to speak up. These kinds of videos, this kind of conversation, this kind of stuff isn't going to be welcome in the community, and that means the game isn't going to improve. Don't feel bad if you ever feel critical, or if you ever are not 100% in love with the game. That's totally normal. Like, don't feel bad about that. And just keep doing what makes you happy. And if saying something like, I think if this got rebalanced would make me feel a lot better about the game, say that. It's valid, it's your opinion, and you're allowed to have it. And just be respectful, be kind to others, and I don't know how else to put it. So yeah, with that said, that's all I got. I'm sorry for the looping footage, and I just appreciate you guys' support. So with that said, thank you guys so much for your support, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye! Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Just as a quick outro, if you ever want to get in touch, or if you ever want to follow up with any of the stuff I talk about, I write about a lot of it on my blog, and I talk about a lot about it on our Discord. So check out the Discord, check out my socials, and check out my Patreon if you want to show me a little extra love. But with that said, really thank you guys so much for watching, and I will be talking to you guys soon. Bye!